Cook with me, guys, as we prepare a beef stew that is guaranteed to warm you up on a cold winter night. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Patrick, and today we are going to be making some delicious, amazing beef stew. Let's cook. Okay, let's start off by chopping up our celery and onion. So the meat of choice is some well-marbled chuck roast. A well-marbled chuck roast will provide a more flavorful and juicier cut of meat. So what we want to do is cut the meat into slices. And you probably can't see, but the grain is running this way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut against the grain. And as you can see, this is a well-marbled piece of meat, which will yield a juicier bite. Okay, and what we're gonna do is cut them up into around 1-inch bite-sized chunks so we can ensure a great bite and superior tenderness. Okay, so now that I have the meat all cut up into bite-sized pieces, I'm going to hit it with a little salt. Okay, so now that I have the salt on the meat, I'm going to add a 1/3 cup of flour to my meat. And what this is going to do is help thicken up the sauce. So once we put this meat in the pan to cook, the residual that's left in the pan is going to help thicken up the beef stew sauce. Okay. Now I might need a little less than a 1/3 cup, maybe a 1/4 of a cup of flour will work. Yeah, I think this is good enough. I'm just gonna get that mixed up in there like that. Okay, so now that the meat has been coated with the flour, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna start searing my meat in the pot for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. And what that's gonna do is gonna give it a nice crust that we're gonna need to build up that fond in the bottom of our pot. And that fond is gonna build up some delicious flavor that we're gonna deglaze. And it's gonna help build up the richness of the stew. Okay, so to my pot, I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of avocado oil. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cook my meat in batches because I do not want to overcrowd my pot. So I'm just throw some in there. Okay, so now that the meat has finished browning, this is what we should be looking like. See how it's nice and seared? That's what we should be looking like, guys. Okay, so as you can see, we have a lot of flavor at the bottom of this pan. That fond is gonna add some richness to our stew. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add the celery and onions to the pan. We're just gonna mix that up and let the celery and the onions soak up some of that fond at the bottom of the pot. Okay, to the pot, I'm gonna add some tomato paste. And guys, just remember, the ingredients are gonna be in the description box. to let you know exactly how much I used of each ingredient. To add some beef bouillon. And we're just gonna stir this up. And it is already smelling amazing. Each ingredient is adding a level of flavorness to this dish. We still have that fond that's bonded to the bottom of this pot. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna add around a cup of dry red wine to my pot, and that's gonna help deglaze the bottom of the pot. Now, if you do not want to use wine, any alcohol, you can also just use some regular broth, and that'll help deglaze the bottom of the pot. And so as my vegetables continue to cook, just remember to scrape the bottom of the pot to help get all that extra flavor at the bottom of the pot scraped up. Okay, so now we're gonna go in of beef broth. And now we're just gonna stir it up for a little bit and continue to scrub the bottom of the pot to get the rest of that fond mixed in with the beef broth. Okay, so next I'm gonna add some word I never can pronounce sauce to my pot. Worcestershire sauce, Worcestershire, however you wanna say it. Now it's time to start adding the rest of my seasonings. So I'm gonna go in with some minced garlic. Next I'm gonna add in some salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning. Going with some onion to add the heat profile, which is some cayenne pepper, red pepper flakes, and some paprika. Now, if you don't want the heat profile, you can omit the red pepper flakes and the cayenne pepper. You do not have to add that to your stew if you don't like. Okay, so now we're gonna add the meat back to the pot. We're just gonna stir that up. Okay, so now that the meat is placed back into the pot, I'm gonna cover it and let it cook for about an hour and a half until the meat gets real tender. And during the last 30 minutes of the cooking process, I'm gonna add the carrots and the potatoes. Okay, so while I'm waiting on the stew to finish cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up some potatoes and carrots. It's gonna go in the stew at the last 30 minutes of the cook time. So what I like to do is just cut it in half and cut it in half again. And what you wanna do, you wanna cut them in nice, even cuts. That way they can cook evenly. And I'm just gonna take my carrot. Okay guys, so our stew is almost finished cooking. We're at the 1 hour mark, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the carrots and potatoes. But before I do that, I wanna mention one thing. Behind the scenes when the camera was off, I forgot to I added some bay leaves and some fresh rosemary and thyme. I forgot to add that before I started letting my stew cook. So right now I'm just gonna remove these bay leaves from the stew. And also I'm gonna remove the stems from the thyme and rosemary. I always say thyme. I always get corrected, it's thyme. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some carrots and potatoes to the stew. And we're just gonna mix that up. And guys, it is smelling delicious. I'm gonna cover it back up and let it finish cooking for about another 30 minutes. Okay guys, so we're about 10 minutes away from the stew being completely finished. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna add some peas to my stew for the last 10 minutes of the cook. And the reason why I'm adding them in at the last 10 minutes is because I just do not want them to get mushy. Okay guys, we're gonna cover it back up, let it cook for another 10 minutes, and then we're gonna be ready to eat. Okay guys, as you see, the stew is completely finished and it's smelling phenomenal. It's looking good. So now it's time to put it in a bowl and we're gonna give it a taste. Let's go in for the bite. Get some of this potato. Blow it off a little bit. You don't want to burn your mouth. That's it right there, guys. The meat is tender. The potatoes are tender. The carrots are cooked just perfectly. The flavor is hidden. Guys, we did some cooking today. This beef stew is gonna be good for any comfort season, any day of the week, Sunday dinner, however you want to plate it up, however you want to cook it and plate it up. It's gonna be perfect for that occasion. If you like the food vibe that we did today, remember to hit that subscribe button. And until then, I'll see you in the next video.